Let's go!
Hey, what's up guys? I'm back with a new video. I'm on my floor again. I just kind of like just sitting on my floor and just filming and chatting with you guys. I just think it's so much fun. And today is going to be kind of a more chatty video. So I just kind of thought sitting on the floor, hanging out, just being here would just be really fun. So obviously from the title you guys saw that this video is going to be a favorite podcast. I listen to podcasts all the time. I listen to it probably way more than music. I really only listen to music when I'm working out, sometimes when I'm driving, and when I do like my homework and stuff. That's literally the only time I am listening to music. So I'm listening to podcasts majority of the time. And I have so many podcasts I listen to, and I just kind of thought it is time to do a favorite podcast video. So let's just get into my favorite podcast. I don't think I'm going to rate these just because I don't really know. Like, I have a favorite podcast. I'll start with that, but I'm not going to go down from like my favorite to least. So, but I will state my favorite podcast, and that is What We Said. So I'll put a little screenshot what the podcast looks like over here. So this podcast is with JC Marie Smith and Chelsea. I love JC. I have been following her for about a couple years now, and she's just my favorite like influencer, my favorite YouTuber. Her and Aspen are one of my favorites. I look up to her so much, and I just really want to be her. So I love her podcast. I have listened since day one, and they are so funny. What I love about this podcast, it is so good with balancing the like topics. There's definitely a lot of like emotional and like inspirational ones, but there's also just like funny ones that just like are laid back and low key. Like, I love her, like what they'll do on their Instagram. They'll have like, tell us your worst like roommate, like they had a worst roommate stories, and they'll tell everyone's stories, and it's just like so low key and laid back. Those are like my favorite episodes. But I love their podcast. I got their merch. I'll put a picture up. I love pink, and I had to get this. I just love, like, this is like my favorite podcast. Literally my favorite. Okay, so next one, Call Me Candid with Lily Ann and Haley Pham. This is brand new. They only have 2 episodes out, but I'm adding it in my favorites because Haley Pham is so great. Yes, a lot of people I follow on YouTube are a lot younger than me, which is kind of weird. But honestly, like, I gain so much inspiration from them because they are, like, they're young and they have succeeded in YouTube, and Haley Pham is one of those girls. She is like, I think she's like 19. I'm almost 23, but I love Haley Pham so much. She's so cool. And then I just started following Lily Ann. Like, she does like a lot of lettering stuff and a lot of like logos and a lot of like cool stuff. She's awesome. But their podcast is just, I feel like it's just going to be just like What We Said, very low key and fun. So that's why I like that one. Next one, Directionally Challenged with Candace King and MIKAYLA AWL. So these girls are from Vampire Diaries. I'll put a picture of them. If you guys watch Vampire Diaries, like, you know these are like the best characters. I love Caroline on Vampire Diaries. I think she was probably my favorite character. So I just love their podcast. I don't listen to every single episode. I just listen to the ones I want to listen to. I love like just them two like catching up and talking, and then they have quite a bit of episodes with like skincare and beauty and all that, which is kind of nice. Okay, next one, Gals on the Go. Everyone loves Gals on the Go. Like, if you're in the podcast community and you're an influencer, like, you know Gals on the Go with Brooke Mitchell and Danielle Carolyn. They're the sweetest girls ever. I do look up to them a lot, especially Brooke, because she is like only like I think a year or 2 older than me, so we're like in the same age realm and we're following the same life path, and so I love you, Brooke, love ya. And then Danielle's just super sweet. I feel like I relate to her a lot just because we're both really bubbly and outgoing, and she's super cute. So I love Gals on the Go. Their episodes are very, very inspirational. If you need an inspirational podcast, but also not like self-help inspirational podcast, like just an inspirational, like motivational, that's what I'm trying to say. Motivational podcast, definitely Gals on the Go. They also just started every Monday, they do The Happening, and I love these episodes. They're like 30 minutes, so I listen to my podcast on double time because it gets me going through really quick, so I do listen to a lot of podcasts. So it takes me like 15 minutes to go through these podcasts while I'm getting ready. I just listen to it. But I love The Happening. They've been going through Bachelor recap. If you guys watch The Bachelor, definitely listen to The Happening. The next one is I Love You So Much with Kenzie Elizabeth. I love Kenzie Elizabeth. I would say aside from JC, she would be my favorite influencer, my favorite YouTuber. Like, I loved Kenzie Elizabeth. I love her so much. I think her and JC would probably be my two favorite. Kenzie is like a year younger than me. We are in the same age realm, just like me and Brooke, and we're following the same life path, and I just really relate to Kenzie a lot, and she's so real, and I really love her. But her podcast is amazing. It is just like Gals on the Go, so if you do like Gals on the Go and you don't know about I Love You So Much, listen to it. So the next podcast is kind of my media podcast, so Lady Gain podcast. There are these three girls, Kelty Knight, Jack Vanek, and Becca Tobin. Becca was on Glee, and I love Glee. So they have a couple of Glee episodes, which is fun. But they're very like media driven. So they talk about like when Colton was the Bachelor, they had him on. They have like a lot of people from like the media world, like let's say Adriana from The Hills. Like, they have a lot of people like that, and their podcasts are just super like fun and lighthearted. They're super funny and they're so real, so I love their podcast. Next one is Okay Sis. I love these girls so much. I only have been listening to their podcast probably for a couple months. They did an episode with Kenzie on the I Love You So Much podcast, and that's what made me love Okay Sis podcast. Like, I just love them. Them two are just so real and so cool. So they're a lot like Gals on the Go, I Love You So Much realm of podcasting. So that's mainly what I listen to. Very lighthearted, motivational, inspirational, but also very like fun and just down to earth. Those are usually the podcasts I listen to. So next one, Pretty Big Deal with Ashley Graham. She started this like a year ago, and then she didn't upload for like ever, and I didn't even know she started uploading again. So I have to catch up on her podcast, but her podcast, she brings in celebrities and interviews them. They're only like 30-minute episodes, so they do take me like 15 minutes to go through. So I do have to catch up on quite a bit. But I only listen to the episodes that the celebrities that I like Shay Mitchell. I love Shay Mitchell, so I want to listen to that episode. So that's Pretty Big Deal. And then Showmance. So this is with Kevin McHale and Jenna Uskowitz. They are on Glee. I love Glee so much. So this season of Showmance, they're doing the Glee recap. So they go through every single episode and they talk about it. So I just listened to the first episode, so I have to listen to the second episode of that. But I love Glee so much, so I love them too. And I guess there's one more. So with Whitney Port, she was on The Hills. This is probably like my least favorite podcast because I just don't listen to it a lot. She talks a lot about motherhood and like raising kids because that's where she is at her point in life, and that's not where I am. I'm not a mother. I don't have kids. Don't plan to have kids in a long while. So her podcast, I literally only listen to the episodes that interest me, and those are like skincare, beauty, fashion episodes. And obviously when The Hills was airing, she did a couple like Hills episodes. So that is it with Whit. But I do like her podcast. So I feel like this video is pretty short, so since it is a little short, I'm going to talk about my favorite murder podcast. I rarely listen to true crime. When I first started podcasting or listening to podcasts, I only listen to murder, true crime ones, but since I found all these others that I just talked about, I just find myself not listening to them, because when I listen to a true crime podcast, like, I have to really, really listen. I can't be doing anything, and I rarely am listening to podcasts and not doing anything. Like, even when I listen to true crime podcasts in the car, I just can't pay attention. So, Dr. Death, this was such a good podcast. So it's like a series. It talks about one person the whole entire season. I don't want to spoil anything, but basically this guy was a doctor and he botched a bunch of surgeries, and it's very, very interesting. Very interesting podcast. Another one, Monstro. This one is freaky and disgusting. It's so gruesome. I've only listened to like a couple episodes, but it is very good if you are into true crime and you want like that gory, scary, creepy feel. Listen to it. I have 2 more to talk about, and that is it. Serial, I've only listened to season 1. I had to listen to it for a class of mine, and I thought it was so good. The reporter or the podcaster is so good at podcasting. Although I wish we got an answer. Like, I just want to know if this guy killed this girl. It's all I want to know. But we won't, like, we don't know. We don't know the truth. So, really good. She does have, like, 2 more seasons out. I haven't listened to them. But Serial's really good. Lastly, Sword and Scale. This podcast was my favorite true crime podcast when I first started listening to podcasts. And it probably would still be my favorite true crime podcast. I just don't listen to it anymore because, like I said, I don't really listen to true crime podcast. But this is just like Monstro, but without like the creepy, gruesome feel. So it just talks about like murders and stuff, and it doesn't go super into detail like Monstro did. Like, Monstro will explain like the cuts of the body of, like, I sliced into his arm and blood was like, it's just so gross. And Sword and Scale just talks about facts, and it's really cool. So yes, those are my podcasts. So we went through all my favorite podcasts, my top favorite, and we talked about my true crime podcast, and that is gonna be it for today's video. This was short and sweet. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe down below if you want to see more of me. Also follow my Instagram because I have a lot of collaborations coming up, and I want you guys to see all of my fun stuff. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye! And it goes a little